Hi, welcome here. I'm so glad that you took the opportunity to take a few minutes to watch this video, specifically about rent-own investing. My name is Cam Rowland, and in these next few moments, I'm going to be walking you through several things. First of all, my first rental property that I ever did. I'm going to talk about my first rent-to-own deal and some of the money that I made with that. I'm going to be talking about how I quit my day job using rent-own, as well as how I scaled up and how I increased my cash flow. So, first of all, my first rental property. So, it all started for me a few years back when I read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Maybe you've read it. If you haven't, pick it up. It's a great read. It's universal content for investors in any country if you want to consider that. But I took his basic principle, his first property he purchased, and he didn't do enough due diligence and quickly found out that he was underwater each month. And what I mean by that is, I think, his expenses were, let's say they were $1,400 a month, but he was only receiving 1,200. I don't remember the exact numbers, but he was making less than his expenses were. So that meant that he was out of pocket $200 every month, right? So that's a basic profit loss statement. So I took those principles and I recognized, because he goes on to say in the book, what a good profit loss number looks like on a single family home rental property. So I started looking and on MLS with these principles that I learned from Kiyosaki. And I found this place. I mean, I looked at a bunch of places, but this is the one that I found. And I did, my due diligence on, okay, what's it going to cost me each month? Because I got a traditional mortgage, right? The bank qualified me because I was an employee. And what the expenses were going to be, insurance and taxes and all that sort of stuff. And I figured out that it was going to be about $1,200 a month expenses on this particular house. Then I did my research in that neighborhood for 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath homes, and recognized that I could probably get about $1,500 a month rent. So that makes sense. I'm going to be positive cash flow about $300 a month. Okay, let's go for it. So my wife and I bought this place, and kind of the rest is history. I mean, that just kind of changed everything. It worked well. I filled it quickly. We were positive cash flow, and it's like, how do I do more and more of this is really what I was thinking at the time. And so in the next few years, I ended up buying a coaching package uh, from a national organization that helped me learn more about real estate investing, right? Lots of different strategies. And that was great. I ended up buying two more duplexes in the next couple of years. But then I got to a point where I wanted to do more, and I started to feel like I was getting to be done at my day job, right? So I'd been working with this organization for 17 years, and I still fully believed in their mission. I just felt it was time for me to move on. And when I looked at my 5 doors, right, I had two duplexes in this place, 5 doors. It was like, well, that's not gonna the cash flow from that is not gonna replace my income. And what am I gonna do? So I didn't really want to find another job. And so what I ended up doing was I hired a coach specifically to teach me how to do lease option rent own deals. So you may hear me going back and forth between lease option rent own. Basically, it's the same thing. Okay. So I hired a coach help me do this, and we put together our first deal. And so this is my very first rent own deal. Nice little place. We did a little bit of renos to touch it up. But so here are some of the key features with it. So on this property, I started getting coaching early October. I put together this deal, found a tenant buyer, and in about 6 weeks, did all the paperwork. It closed another 2 weeks after that, and then I got my check a few days after that. So I'll explain all that. But anyways, all told, it took me about 8 weeks to put together my first deal, which is pretty good. And so what I liked about this deal was, and with rent own, is that you get money up front. And this is one of the things that I remembered when I was thinking about quitting my day job and going, okay, well, what else could I do? Because my 5 doors weren't gonna pay for my income, right? It wasn't going to replace my income. So I started, well, I could be a realtor. Didn't really want to do that. I could get another job somewhere else. Yeah, my passion was real estate investing. And so that's when I remembered way back, took a 3-day weekend course. They talked about rent own, and they talked about how rent owns are typically higher than normal cash flow and get some money up front. And you can help people get into home ownership. Obviously, there's lots more that we talked about or that I understood at the time, but this was what was prevalent on my mind. So when I structured this deal, it was true. I got money up front. I got monthly cash flow, right, above my expenses. So I had no maintenance costs. And the way that I set up my rent own deals is that my tenant buyer, right, someone who wants to own the home eventually, I make them responsible for the repairs. And so if there's a plugged toilet or a leaky faucet or whatever, they're responsible for those things, helping them think like a homeowner. And then we've got a built-in sale agreement, right? They're going to buy from me in the future if it's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 years. And so that's awesome. We get a built-in sale at a predetermined price. So this is what I learned up front, putting this whole deal together. And basically it came out that way. Obviously, there's some bumps in the road. Every opportunity will have something that you didn't expect or whatever. You ebb and flow and you go with it. So on this one, uh, we what's the money up front? Well, the money up front that I got on this deal was $22,000. Okay, so that's a copy of the check. Some things are omitted there, but so that was pretty killer on my first deal. And then the second item is monthly cash flow, right? So my monthly cash flow was $200 a month, and this deal went on for 48 months. So that's $9,600 over 4 years. And then at the end, when the tenant buyer bought it, mortgage was paid off, any other expenses, all that sort of stuff. This was my final check on this particular deal. So that's a pretty awesome deal. They're not always like that, and they vary per deal. I mean, I can't promise that you're going to do this, but I did it. I did it on my first one. So moving forward with that, I I ran the numbers on this deal, and I sat there and it's like, wow, like this deal went very well. Why couldn't I duplicate this? Right. So it was at that point that my wife Holly and I decided that, yep, let's quit your day job. Let's do this full time. And so we did. And but it was a journey getting to that point because you know I'd been working for 17 years. I think I was 39 or right at 40 at that moment in time when I wanted to move on, right? So it's not like I was, in my early 20s and I had like no expenses. I had a mortgage, I had two mortgages. Actually, I had four mortgages, and right with the other properties on our primary house, and I had, a family to care for. I had three boys at home. So our expenses were, they were up there. And but when I looked at this model, and it's like, wow, how many of those do I have to do in a year to replace my income? So we processed all that, took the leap, and we went for it. And in that next year, I think we did four more of those deals, similar to that first one that I showed you, and we just kept going from there. So what I want to show you here briefly is how at this point I scaled, right? So, I got a rent own sign put together, a street sign that I put in front of my properties, or I put out in front of properties that I was interested in. And so we started to scale at that point, right? Because it's like, well, if I did one, I could do four more in the next, what was it, 10 months? It's like, okay, how do we keep duplicating this, right? So on that first deal, and this is why I love the rent own model so much, is because you can generate great cash flow. Now, what I'm about to tell you is going to blow some of your mind. Some of you are like, maybe you won't be, it'll be a whatever deal. Some of you be like, no way. And it was a no way for me. It just all kind of came together. I've told you about these items here. built-in sale. Plus, we get to help families get into home ownership. But the kicker on this deal and all the deals I did after that for the next 5 years, they were all no money down deals. So, right, it just changed my world. And that was what I was so excited about because, some of you who were listening to some of the details earlier, when I said that I did four more of these deals, I quit my day job, I did four more. You went, hang on a sec, how'd you do that? Because you probably couldn't get mortgages. Absolutely correct. That's why I did these deals. So this one, just what happened was real briefly is, I was just excited about my first couple deals and I was talking about it at work, talking about it with my friends. And I had a couple that said, hey, Cam, we really are interested in what you're doing. We like what you're doing. Is there a way that we can invest with you? And I said, well, yeah, I was straight with them. I don't know how we'll do that, but let's figure it out. And so we did. And so, a bunch of work, and I presented a bunch of different deals to them, and this deal worked, and they purchased the house. They put down the down payment and they qualified for the mortgage. Their name was on title. And then I came in and I controlled the whole deal through my paperwork. And so it was a win-win for them and for me and for the tenant buyer, right? So triple win. Yes. And when I looked at that after I got this first one done, it's like it just kind of hit me. It's like this is duplicatable because they could probably do another one, right? The investors on this one. And I know of other people who are interested, and it just kind of grew from there, right? Those next four in the next year were a couple more investors. And then I work with investors who want to be involved in real estate, but they want to be hands off and hands free and just have someone else look after for them. So that's a great model. And then I also found that there are tons of tired and frustrated landlords out there, right? And landlords, investors, might even be their primary home. They can't sell it or they're tired of dealing with tenants or whatever. And I can come in and I can package a deal that solves their headache, solves their problem, and makes money for me as well, right? So those are what I call tired and frustrated landlords. So that's how I started to grow at that point. So these are just a snippet of a bunch of properties that I picked up over the next several years that were I got investors to purchase, or I worked with tired and frustrated landlords. Some of them I did rentals on, some of them I didn't, and we made a profit along the way, and we helped a lot of families get into home ownership. So I'm super stoked about that because, I'm still learning here a number of years later, doing this for a decade. And I love what I do. And I get to help other people get into home ownership. I get to help investors and I get to help other investors who want to learn this strategy, right? So I'm a coach and it's just super cool. So what I want to share with you now briefly is, I've talked about my first property, right? With this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, talked about my first rent own deal. I've talked about how I quit my day job, how I scaled up, right, to all those properties. I think I went from 5 properties, 5 doors to over 45 doors in less than 5 years, right? Using other people's money, investors and tired frustrated landlords. I just kept duplicating the model. Then I started getting people asking me to show them how to do the model, right? So that's when I started coaching about 3 years ago. And what I want to do is I want to show you my website that goes into my coaching portal. So I'll do this real quick here. All right. So this is my website here. And as you can see, for me, real estate is freedom because you look at, what I get to do. I get to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Yeah, not every deal is perfect, but I get to create a lifestyle that helps me to grow and spend time with my kids, travel, work from home, work from the office if I want to, remote, making phone calls on a vacation or whatever. So real estate for me is freedom, right? And it's all about your reason why you want to do this. My reason for quitting my day job, my reason for doing this, my family, travel, serving others. These are all part of my deeper why. All right, so here we are, and these are a couple of my courses, and so the specifically the one that we're talking about is the Rentone, and that's this one here. So it is Rentone, lease options, and other creative deals. So I want to show you this in terms of what's all in here. So week one, I'm not going to go in a lot of detail, but what I wanted to show you is just the basics of the course and how in depth it goes. So week one, it's not showing weeks 2 through 6, but I do have bonus content, other archived material, including all of our coaching calls. But so in here we do deep dives, right? So there's 8 sessions in this week, and we go into what is lease options, or what are lease options, what is rent own. We dive into that. So this is about a 20-minute video for this, and it also comes with the audio file so that you can just listen to the audio if you want to. And what's great about this is that you can go back and forth, right? You can go to the next one and you can always go back. And then when you're done a session, you can complete it, or you can just click here and you can go to the next module, right? And so at the end of each module, I've got a weekly action that gives you very specific things that you can do. And there's a printable PDF. And so the goal of this whole course is to equip you to be able to put together your first rent-own deal, whether if it's your first property or your 30th property. But you want to do these deals with excellence and with success, because there's some nuances. There's lots of people out there who say they do rent-own, but they do it poorly, and the deal fails because they don't have the right contracts. They don't know how to market to their people. They don't. There's just lots of stuff that they don't know, and so this enables you to know how to do a successful rental. You've heard about these creative real estate deals. I've shown you examples of some of the ways that you can do them, and you're feeling excited, you're feeling motivated, you're feeling like, yes, I want some of that. So now is a crucial step for you, because you've got enough information to make a decision. You've got enough information to start to actually picture what you want in your life, right? Is it more time? Is it more money? Is it freedom in both of those? Is it freedom from your 9 to 5 job? Is it freedom from, you name it, fill in the blank. What is it that you want? Because now is the time to take action, right? When I first thought about doing real estate investing, and then when I finally went into it, it was 6 years. 6 years of wasted energy going, I wonder if it's going to work. Probably won't work. And finally, I went for it. Now, here's the opportunity for you to go for it. Book a free strategy session with me. We'll spend 30 to 45 minutes doing a deep dive on what it is you want to accomplish and what the best vehicle is for you to get there. And dive in. So there's a book now button at the top. And there's also a link at the bottom, depending on where you're viewing this. Decide now to at least book that call. Book that call with me. Have that free strategy session. Start now to change your life.